The Shop to the Apartment. Written and read by W.P. Thrift. You can find me at Lantis Armstrong on Twitter. Chapter 6. Incorrect Function. Radix was annoyed that he had to wake up so damn early just to get to class on time, because Peter was being stingy with the van. Peter argued that he had 15 different jobs to drive to today, and so he'd be using it way more than Radix. And Radix counter-argued that Peter had been using the van all week, while everyone else had to walk everywhere, and he needed to give someone else a turn. Unfortunately, Peter woke up earlier than anyone, besides Lantis, who never slept because he was at work nonstop. So by the time Radix had woken up and crawled off of the couch, Peter was already long gone to start first work for the day. Trudging groggily to the bathroom, Radix felt a freezing cold substance surge up around his foot a second before he heard a squish at the end of the hallway. He held his foot up. It was dripping wet. He looked down and saw a huge dark puddle had formed on the blue carpet in front of the AC unit. He had recently realized that the AC was dripping water, but this was getting really bad. It was a really horrible thing to wake up to, stepping in freezing cold water with your bare foot, the water squishing up between the toes. He tried to step around it, but the puddle was too large, and he had to step through the icy cold water several more times just to get to the bathroom, and again when he was leaving it. He drug his feet along the carpet, trying to get them dry before he slipped on his socks and shoes, while getting ready to head out for his first day of class. The sun came up over the horizon during Radix's long walk to Cattailville Technical College. A huge poster for the Fightin' Electronic Cattails hung over the road at one point, gleefully letting him know that the college was only 5 more miles away if you were driving, and 10 more miles if you were walking. He was puzzled as to why there would be a difference, but realized that it had to be that reality was fucking with him again. And yes, it actually was. Up in the dead center of the sky taunted the noonday sun as a sweaty, exhausted Radix arrived in the lobby area of the building his first class was in, which started at 12:30. He had some time to struggle for air and rehydrate before class. He pulled a towel out of his backpack, a backpack bought for him by Peter, who was surprisingly happy to learn that Radix was going back to school. It was possible Peter was just happy to see that all of his roommates were doing something with their days, so he felt so inclined to buy gifts for them. None of Peter's paychecks had arrived in the mail yet, as he was just starting with his jobs, so all the money that Peter had on his person came from the ruins of burned-down buildings during his firefighting job. Peter's always telling everyone that they would be surprised just how many safes last until the flames die down, before popping open from the pressure. Peter insisted that the firefighter world was like the pirating world, and every burnt-down house was like an ocean. When it came to treasure, its finders, keepers. None of his housemates felt so inclined as to question this. The heat stroke began to subside, and Radix got much of his vision back. August was just too damn hot in Georgia, he swore. Looking around at all the middle-aged parents walking around this place, it did occur to Radix that if he could force himself to be just a little bit social, then he wouldn't have to walk all the way back to the apartment today. These people were bound to own their own vehicles. But he decided that the 10-mile walk would be less painful. Besides, how exhausted that jaunt had made him was just evidence of how out of shape he had become over the past year. No longer having to live with his dad, he had completely stopped his old workout routine. He considered, for a moment, checking out the gym that was open to all residents of his apartment complex. Then he let the thought drop, and got up to go to the water fountain and drink from it for the next 5 minutes until the bell rang, letting him know that classes were now in session. Head still burning, but stomach now feeling bloated from overhydrating, Radix sluggishly made his way over to his first class. He had completely forgotten what his first class was, or even what major he had signed up for. He was thinking that it might be something history-related, but between his brain recovering from a heat stroke and how little thought he originally put into filling out the paperwork, there was no telling. Radix didn't even have the textbook for the class yet. It was his understanding that no one at tech colleges ever buys the books, opting instead to keep telling the teacher that it was lost in the mail somewhere, but certainly still on its way, until the end of the quarter. Radix followed the hallway marked 200 to 300, looking for room 217. He read the door numbers as he walked past them as he got closer to class. 213, 214, 215, 216, 280. Wait, Radix said aloud. 280? God damn it! He looked over to the other side of the hall. The very first number was 218. So where the fuck's 217? Radix shouted, annoyed because he was already late for class. He walked up and down the hallway, eventually seeing every number there was besides 217. He finally walked back to the lobby area and was about to go to the vending machine to see if he could shake some food loose from it, when he saw across the hallway in the 400 section one door standing off by itself, marked 217. You motherfuckers! Radix shook his head, then walked on over to class, making a mental note to come back to the vending machine later. Entering the classroom, half fearing he'd get chewed out for being late, he saw that the professor wasn't even there yet. The students just sat around playing on the computers, which every desk had. That was another big difference from high school. There were no computers there. Well, save one lone computer that the computer lab had. It had been imported from the Stone Age, which all the students had to share, and also which their teacher took delight in failing over half the class, which was unable to reach the computer by the end of the period. But otherwise Cattellville High School had been technology-free. Oh, wait. Radix thought aloud while meandering down the rows to look for an open desk. There was that one flight simulator in Mr. Ed's class. Man, that thing was the bee's knees. Nothing could ever possibly be better than that. And then he saw Amy, sitting right next to a free seat, the girl that he had had a crush on since he first saw her in the town's library. Radix reconsidered his earlier statement. No, I think I'm still going to go with the flight simulator as the best thing ever. But this is nice, too. Radix went straight over to the free seat, trying to act nonchalant, but was already talking again before he had even sat down good. So what's up? Amy, right? Radix said. She didn't respond, staring straight down at nothing. It seemed like a natural stance for her, being a mousy, petite young lady. I'm Radix, remember? So do you still work at the Silver Pines Library? She still didn't respond. Say, this might sound weird, but do you have a car? I just don't have a ride home this afternoon, so I was wondering if you could give me a lift, Radix asked. She still didn't respond. She didn't even react. I'll take that as a maybe, Radix said. He finally gave up. She just wasn't feeling like talking to him. He glanced around to see who had noticed, who was gossiping about him already, and was truly surprised to see that nobody in the class seemed to notice or care. Holy crap, Radix thought. This is so unlike high school. He turned on the computer, figuring he could mess around on it until the teacher got here. It came up to a login screen, which he tried to close out of just to get to the desktop. No dice. He glanced around the classroom and saw that everyone else was logged into their computers. So apparently everyone else knew what the username and password were supposed to be. Everyone knew it, except for him. So he figured it had to be something obvious, and entered admin and password for the username and password. It didn't work. He tried a few more things, then got frustrated. "It's your student ID, and there's no password," Amy said, more out of feeling frustrated that he just didn't get it, rather than any kind of sympathy, or just plain wanting to help. "You can talk!" Radix turned his attention back to her. She immediately regretted her decision to say anything. "So, what's my student ID? Just like my name?" Radix asked. Amy felt her eye twitch. "Is the number on your student ID card?" "I don't have a student ID card," Radix replied. She turned to him, curious now. "Are you actually a student here then? Or did you just come to bother me?" "Hey, I didn't even know you were here till I got here," Radix insisted. "I mean, not that I'm not thrilled about this. Or, wait, shit, let me take that down a notch. Crap. I'm not actually sure what to say now." Amy groaned. "If you are a student, then over the weekend you should have come in to get your picture taken and your ID card made." "Well, shit," Radix said. "Yeah, I got a letter in the mail about something like that, but I never bothered to read it. So is it too late to do this now?" "No, just go to the office after class," Amy said. "Explain to them that the letter arrived late or something. Just don't tell them that you were too incompetent to bother reading it. You don't want to make a bad first impression with a person. You know, the first impression lasts the longest." "Yeah, and it takes 7 good impressions consecutively to erase the damage caused by a single bad first impression," Radix informed her. "Boom! Bet you didn't think I'd studied psychology, did ya? But yes, I do happen to know quite a bit about this shit. I mean, I had tons of time to read when I was in prison. I mean, when I was chilling at home. I haven't been to prison." Amy rolled her eyes, assuming he was lying about being to prison and just trying to impress her with a tough boy act. She did not fall for such a ruse. But she was actually impressed that he knew more about the first impression theory than the very first basic line of it. And then she felt angry at herself for letting herself feel impressed about anything he had to say. She didn't want anything to do with people, and here this guy had goaded her, through his sheer incompetence, into carrying on a brief conversation with him. She was relieved when the professor came into the room, though she found the professor to be a bit perplexing. He was a robot, his still body painted bright yellow with red speed streaks, and the Biscuit Dye logo painted on his chest. He had a glass bulb for a head that lit up when he spoke, a pincer for a left hand, and an arm cannon for the right. But at least now Radix would be respectfully silent instead of bantering on about things, since the professor was here. "So, about that ride," Radix continued, undeterred. Amy sighed. He was not only going to continue to bother her, but she was likely to get in trouble too, for being talked at during class. Never mind the fact that she wouldn't be able to hear the lecture on quantum unified field theory. Why did Radix sign up for such a difficult class anyway? Just one more thing for her to ponder. "Greetings, students," the Professor Robot said. "I will be your educator for this classroom exercise. You shall call me Sam XP. I trust everyone has their textbooks." Radix glanced around and noticed that Amy was the only person in the entire classroom that had the textbook with her. "You all lack your textbooks." Sam XP was appalled. "Incorrect function." But then he snapped his... maybe it was his face? Over to Amy. "Student Amy, my apologies. I have just finished loading my secondary objective to inform you that College President Alkeon wishes to see you in her office. Post haste! Amy was only surprised for a moment, then glanced over at Radix before looking relieved. She quickly packed up her textbook and jumped up from her desk and headed out of the room without a word. She avoided eye contact with anyone on the way out. Oh, God damn it, Radix thought. Just when I was getting her to talk to me. Such fucking bullshit. Ugh, what else can go wrong today? Classroom textbook capacity now sits at 0%, Sam XP declared. Incorrect function has reached critical mass. Initiate purge.exe. The students are still breathing. Incorrect function. And then Sam XP began blasting at everyone in the room with the plasma cannon on his right hand. Students fried in their seats, while Radix ducked down under his desk and began to crawl along behind the desks, heading for the aisle so that he could make a run for the door. Fucking hell! Radix's mind raged. I knew I should have gotten a new katana. The flea market was having a sale, and there's always some asshole selling a cheap katana. But no, Peter just had to keep using the goddamn van all the time, so I couldn't get over there. Students cried out before being suddenly silenced, one by one. Radix jumped up and made a run for the door, seeing Sam XP turn his blaster towards him. Quickly predicting the trajectory, Radix froze in his tracks for a heartbeat. As predicted, Sam XP's blast shot past in front of him, as Sam XP had compensated for anticipated trajectory in his shot. You survived, Sam XP declared. Incorrect function! The cement wall to Radix's left sizzled from the plasma blast, which had just struck it. Radix kicked open the door and rolled out into the hallway, barely avoiding the next blast. Fire burned across the classroom as Radix slammed the door shut behind him, and then headed to the office to see about getting that ID made. He'd want to be able to log into the computer for his next class, because those things looked like they would be boring without something to do. That night, Radix arrived back at the apartment, wishing he could step into the smell of burgers being cooked and the sight of dinner being served. Of course, no such luck. The door opened and the smell of cigarette smoke blasted him in the face. Bowman sat on the couch, covered in soot, which was now smeared all over his couch, so Radix would either have to clean it off or wake up covered in soot himself. And Lantis cowered in the corner on the other side of the couch, trembling on the floor just inside of the apartment while smoking, rather than stepping out onto the patio. Lantis! God damn it! Radix groaned, throwing his backpack down and going to sit beside Bowman. He was just too tired to care about getting sooty right now after such a long walk. Every inch of his body was killing him, his muscles all screaming and throbbing. He had lost the feeling in his feet several miles back, his knees deciding that they should start hurting extra bad just to make up for that. When Radix sat down, he dropped like a rock. No strength in his knees left to lower himself down gently. There was a reality TV judge show on the television, because of course Lantis could talk Bowman into sitting here watching that crap. So, what's everyone been up to today? Radix asked. I almost saw some gelatin packs at the grocery store. That was exciting, Bowman replied. Lantis's response came so fast and loud that it surprised Radix. They made me scrape gum off the sidewalk with a vest covered in razor blades. I had to roll around for hours like that while the customers yelled at me to come check them out. So everyone had a good time, Radix concluded. Say, I hate to bring this up, but while I was at the office getting my ID made today, I happened to notice what the cost of tuition was. And, how to put this? Soon as y'all get your paychecks, I need to borrow them. Both of them. Don't worry, I'll pay you both back. I mean, surely I'll get an amazing job with all this tech college I'm doing. Think of it as an investment in the future. I'm not going back to work, Lantis said decisively. I hate it there. I don't want to do it anymore. Radix sighed. Okay, that's fine. Bowman, I'm gonna need your next 2 paychecks. Paychecks from what? Bowman asked. From your job, Radix pressed, knowing how aloof Bowman can be and how specific one has to be when addressing him. I don't have a job, Bowman replied. Radix sighed. We've been over this. You do have a job now. Yes, the shop got shut down, but now you work at Outer Pricelow. Remember? Not anymore, Bowman replied. Oh God, did you get fired already? Radix demanded. Go back there and beg for your job right now. I need that money for tuition. Otherwise, I'll be the one that needs to get a job. Bowman fidgeted for a moment, then finally confessed. Oh, okay, I admit it. I blew up Outer Pricelow. Radix initially thought that he was either joking or doing a terrible job lying. Then, after thinking about it, he realized that Bowman was very likely telling the truth. Oh, God damn it, Bowman! What did I tell you about blowing shit up? Don't do it again, Bowman said sadly. And what did you do? Radix pressed. Blew shit up. Bowman's voice remained sad. Radix reached over to grab a newspaper, rolled it up, and popped Bowman on the nose. Bad Bowman! Radix declared. Don't do it again! About that time, the sounds of sirens and screeching tires let everybody know that Peter was home. He drove around behind the apartment pool's showering room to hide the van, got out, and ran back to the apartment under the cover of night, while the cops pulled into the complex to begin searching around for the van they had been after. Slinging open the door like he owned the place, because he did, Peter had returned home from 8th work. What's up, bitches? Peter declared. So, how was everyone's day? Peter observed the soot-covered Bowman, Radix foaming at the mouth from suffering several consecutive heat strokes, and Lantis covered in filth and blood, trembling uncontrollably while hiding behind the couch. So, looks like everyone's settling into the adult life just fine, Peter evaluated. Say, Peter, Radix said, Lantis and Bowman have informed me that they won't have quite enough money to cover my tuition at the end of the month. So I was wondering if you could help cover me. I'd love to, but I can't, Peter said while putting on some Crocs. While he hated wearing shoes, and rarely did when he was out, he still liked wearing Crocs around the apartment. And then he took a seat between Bowman and Radix on the couch. Just why not? Radix asked. Because I didn't give any of my employers my real address, so they can't send me paychecks, Peter replied. Wait, what? Radix was confused. Dude, don't be stupid. Do you know how many people want me dead? Peter said like it was obvious. If I go around putting down where I live all over the place, I'd never survive the night. So I keep my home base a closely guarded secret. Then how do you expect to pay the rent? Radix demanded. Why do you think I requested so many housemates? Peter asked, talking to him like he was a child. Come on, think before you speak. Radix face-palmed, then got up from the couch and headed out of the living room. He just needed to take a long, hot shower to get over how shitty today had been, and how damning it was to realize that the apartment appeared to be going the same way the shop went already. He didn't want everything to end in failure again, and needed to find a way to fix all of this. But first, he just had to relax. Sploosh! Radix immediately sank under the deep waves of freezing water. He swam around, losing his bearings, looking around until he spotted the lights at the end of the hallway and swam towards them, up several feet before he emerged from the water's surface. "Oh yeah!" Peter called down the hallway to him. "The AC's been leaking pretty bad lately, so watch out for water in the carpet." Radix began to swim for shore, then saw several dorsal fins emerge behind him. He swam quicker, feeling the great white sharks brushing around his legs. One went for him, but he smacked it across the nose, stunning it just barely long enough for him to reach the shore and pull himself up into the bathroom safely. Shivering, freezing, and beyond all else shocked as hell at what had just happened, Radix slowly closed the door to the bathroom while reaching for a towel to begin drying off and getting warm with. He just hoped that there was still some hot water left when he turned on the shower. That concludes Chapter 6 of The Apartment. Tune in every Tuesday for new chapters. If you would like to reach me, you can do so at Lantis Armstrong on Twitter. That's LANTISARMSTRONG. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you'll join us again for next week's chapter, The Secret Under the College.